Hey there, fellow 3D enthusiasts. This is the second part of a small series where I create a tripod for my phone. In this video, I will print and assemble the tripod. It will help me improve the quality of upcoming videos. I will also share the files in the description for you to check out. We will start by exporting our 3D model from Fusion 360. Then we have to prepare it for printing in Prusa Slicer and finally print it. I am CG Ferry. Welcome to my channel, and let's get started. Alright, here we are in Fusion 360. What we need to do is open a component. Go to top left corner and click on Export. Then we have to name the component and change the format to STL. Finally, we change the output directory and press Export. Now we need to wait a little, and then do it for all of the parts. Here we go. After the exporting, we switch to the Prusa Slicer to prepare the models for printing. First, we import our models. Here I got a little distracted and went into the settings. If you want, you can pause the video and go through them. Unfortunately, they are not in English, but I will mention the important ones. I will recommend 20% infill, gyroid pattern, and 40% overhang for supports. I also used organic supports that are available only in newer versions of Prusa Slicer. I print on Prusa MK3 printer using PLA. Okay, here I am looking at the supports from all angles to see if there is a problem with them. I also go through the layers to see inside. This is at 50% overhang for the supports and they are too dense, so we need to change it to 40%, as I recommended a minute ago. Alright, now we're going to regenerate the supports. As you can see, they are less dense, which saves some material, but also makes them easier to remove after printing. Next, we're going to import second component, which is the upper part of the leg. Of course, we have to change the orientation so that the flat surface is on the bottom. I quickly made 2 other copies and regenerated the supports again. Before I continue, I want to make sure the supports are in order. I won't bother you with importing all the components one by one, so here they are all at once. Of course, I won't print everything at once because it would take over 18 hours. You can print for 18 hours if you want, but since this is my first time printing this, I won't risk anything. You can see an error pop up in the bottom left corner, but that's caused by placing the parts close together. So once we put them further apart, everything should be fine. Here we have our first print ready. It will take just over 6 hours, so that will be all the printing I do today. I chose these parts because I think they can be the most problematic. There are many tight tolerances that need to be accommodated. If the parts don't fit, I hope I can at least correct the tolerances on all the parts at once. This will be my setup for recording 3D printing and assembly. Unfortunately, I don't have a better solution yet, so I'll have to use vertical resolution. My printer is now calibrating all axes and should start in a minute. I'll put a time lapse of the first half of the print here. I couldn't record the second half because my phone battery died before I finished the entire 6-hour print. Our first print was a success. Now we need to get all the parts out of the print bed and clean the supports. Getting components from the print bed can be quite difficult, so here are some methods I use. First, before printing, I coat the print bed with a thin layer of stick glue to help separate the print bed and the plastic, while holding them together when printing. Second, I bend the print bed, as you can see in the video, which helps with longer parts. I finally have a chisel that I can press between the part and the printing bed. I'll skip the removal of support because there's nothing interesting about it. Now we have to test whether the parts fit together. As you can see here, I'm trying to put them together. It seems my tolerances were too tight, so I need to adjust them and reprint some parts. Although I kind of expected it because 3D printing isn't the most accurate. Often you don't know if the parts will fit until you print them and try them out. I decided to edit and reprint this part because it can solve 3 problems at once. First, I need to widen this guide rail by 0.2. I know it doesn't sound like much, but it makes a huge difference. Second, I need to make the thread narrower so that the nut I already printed will fit without much resistance. I did this by offsetting the faces by 0.1 mm on each side. Last but not least, I have to thin out this bottom swivel because I couldn't force it in the other part of this joint. I did it again by offsetting the faces. Now let's look at the parts I haven't printed yet. Here I measure the distances. This part has the same tolerance as the guide rail from the before. This means it will have the same problem and I have to widen it by 0.2 mm. Our second print will only have 4 parts, but will take over 6 hours regardless. 2 of these parts are the ones I've edited before, so hopefully they'll fit this time. 6 hours later, we have all 4 parts successfully printed. Let's quickly remove the supports and see if they fit better. Let's try one of the legs first. As you can see, it fits perfectly without any resistance. Here's a little close-up too. There is a small gap, but the part does not wiggle at all. Now let's look at the next part that we printed. I'll try the swivel first. It's not that easy to put together, but with a little force it can be done. As you can see, it spins freely without any resistance. Narrowing the thread also worked well. Our nut fits perfectly. The guide rail is not completely smooth, but after a few passes it seems to improve. It will also be pushed by the nut, so you won't even notice it thanks to the leverage. Here is a little close-up. You can see the sloping surface above the nut. I thought it would help with accuracy, but it backfired and the nut gets stuck on it. I will reprint it later. Now let's move on to our third print. It's the middle part. I have to remove the supports one more time, then I'll try to connect it to the other parts. I will attach the clamp to this part with a screw. It's a tight fit, but once you get it in the right position, it works well. I am using 2 nuts for this joint to make sure it stays tight as it moves. And here it is completed. Now we need to assemble the legs. We will use 1 bolt and nut for each leg. The nut goes into the pre-made hole and the screw goes from the side. Unfortunately, the screw I chose was too short, so I had to choose a longer one. The small dot you can see inside the part is the end of the screw. It will push on the other part and hold it in place. I quickly tighten the screw. As you can see, it holds the other part in place really well. I'm going to do another 2 legs off the screen so we can start the final assembly. I attach each leg with 1 screw and 2 nuts. Keeping these joints tight over time proved to be a problem, so I'll address that in the next iteration. If you're interested in the 3D models of this tripod, there will be a link in the description to a website where you can purchase all the files. All future updates to this tripod will be added for free, so you won't pay any additional cost. The current price is not final and may change in the future based on feedback. The best place to talk about this and more is on my Discord server, which you can find in the description as well. By the way, if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like. You can also subscribe if you don't want to miss future videos. Alright, Just a few finishing touches and we can look at the final result. There it is, it's all assembled. Now let's enjoy the tripod in all its glory.